Hello everyone! Welcome to the MudRoom, our weekly free and live Uncommon Sense parenting class. How is everyone doing this fine Tuesday? We are just coming off Family Day weekend here in Canada. I am super excited because in 3 days I am starting my first vacation in forever, definitely since my children were born. So I'm super excited. The last week has been difficult because we've been having rolling teacher strikes here in Ontario, #no cuts to education. And so today was the first day in over a week that my older son has been to kindergarten. And because a lot of my friends are either teachers or just, have normal jobs where you can't bring your kids with you, I had a lot of children here last week. So I apologize to anyone who had to deal with me being kind of slow last week. I was juggling being an impromptu daycare with my normal full-time work. Not that I'm complaining. I am super, super privileged to be able to support our teachers that way, and I was happy to do it. And I did manage to get, I think, all caught up on Friday and over the weekend. Let me tell you, if anything, having 6 kids in my house at a time made me much more stringent in my support for the teachers. Y'all, it is no joke. It's a lot of work. That was a lot of kids, and that's only a tiny portion of the amount of kids that people need to deal with, or teachers need to deal with on a daily basis. People always joke with me about how I'm an ECE, and I don't like big groups of kids, and it's true. I really have always preferred working one-on-one with a child, which is one of the reasons I ended up in early intervention in the first place. But last week just reinforced that. But as I said, it just highlighted for me just how lucky I am to be able to do what I do, how I do it, because not only did I not have to scramble for childcare myself, but I was able to extend emergency childcare to my fellow moms who really needed it, most of whom were picketing. So thank you to all of you, because it's because of you that I'm able to support other women in a very tangible way like that. Okay, so before we jump into our topic this week, allow me to introduce myself for all of you who are new around here. My name is Allana Robinson, and I'm a parenting effectiveness coach for parents of toddlers, preschoolers, and kindergartners. My job is to help you understand why your children are misbehaving and how to fix it without yelling, shaming, or coercing them. I'm the host of the Parenting Posse, which is my free peer support Facebook group that you are absolutely welcome to join if you haven't already done so. We hit 7,000 members this last week. I think it was Friday. We hit 7,000 members. Y'all, that's a huge number. I am super, super excited. So if you're not in there, come and join us. It's a big group, but it's really well run. I love my mods. So it's a really great place to be. I also host the Parentability program, which is much smaller, where we get to the root of behavior issues and create targeted behavior plans to fix it. And obviously, I'm your host here on the MudRoom. So if you're here, please say hi. I love knowing who's here with me. Feel free to comment as we go along. I love answering questions. It just makes this much more pleasant and a much more fun experience for me, that's for sure. I don't particularly enjoy lecturing to my camera. But if you're not into chatting, that's cool. But if I could ask you to please just give this video a like if you enjoy it, that really helps me out in the Facebook ecosystem. And if, for those of you who will be listening to the podcast later, a review is always appreciated. So, this one's going to be a little bit heavier and a little less, sorry, there's a hair or something stuck to my lip. There we go. This one's going to be a little bit heavier than usual and not particularly parenting centered. I've been debating doing this episode for a while. And even once I got really fired up about it the other week, I kind of put it on the shelf for a few weeks to give myself time to calm down so that I would be able to articulate myself properly. Apparently that didn't help. Because just like little kids, when we're angry or hurt or frustrated by something, our language abilities tend to get worse. We become less articulate. So I've given myself some time to stew on this and kind of calm down. I've written lots of notes to try and help me stay on track, but fair warning, this episode is likely going to get a little ranty, and it might be a little triggering for some people, because tonight I want to talk about not being believed. And I know in the past that I've talked about not believing our children, but today I want to focus on not being believed as women and as mothers. So at the end of January, see, the emotions already running high. At the end of January, we had Bell Let's Talk Day here in Canada, and that's basically a day when one of our largest mobile carriers in Canada pledges to donate 5 cents to mental health initiatives every time their hashtag is used or one of their videos is watched, and I think every time one of their customers makes a text or a call. And generally, Canadians end up generating millions of dollars for donations towards mental health initiatives on Let's Talk Day. And you may have noticed a lot of your Canadian friends sharing their mental health stories on January 29th for that reason. And I was one of them. If you follow me on Instagram, I shared my mental health story in my Instagram stories that evening. And I'm not going to go over all of that again right now, partially because talking about my trauma is mentally draining. But the Coles Notes is that I wasn't believed when I raised some serious concerns about my body when I was a young woman. And fast forward to when my oldest son was born, the fact that nobody took those concerns seriously nearly killed my son. And the trauma from that is still a very present thing in my life. And then the very next day, January 30th, a good friend of mine who has been in my life for the last decade or so, she was in labor. And she texted me and told me that basically the same thing was happening to her. She had been very loudly and actively telling her doctors for over a decade that something was wrong physically with her. And now, while in labor, it came to light that she was right. Something was very wrong. And had they just listened to her and done some basic imaging, the complications that she was now facing while giving birth wouldn't be occurring, as she wouldn't have spent the last 10 years in chronic pain. And all of this reminded me and highlighted for me how many of my clients, and often even prospective clients who contact me, often start telling me about their struggles with their child's behavior, and usually within the first couple of sentences, they say something like, "Nobody believes me but. I've talked to his doctor, but they don't believe me," or "the school doesn't believe me." And I'm frustrated. I am so frustrated because I don't know what it's going to take for everyone, just society as a whole. Woo! As I drop my computer off of its... Sorry, it's on my desk here and I just literally... It's the French gesticulating. It just gets out of control sometimes. Okay. I don't know what it's going to take for us to have this cultural shift that needs to be had to start believing women, whether that's in the medical field or the education field or the behavioral field or the justice field or even just socially. As a society, we are gaslighting women, telling them that everything is okay, even when we're actively telling you that it isn't. And it needs to stop. Like, ignorance is not bliss. Ignorance keeps us ashamed and in pain and helpless. But, I mean, you probably all know this already. I don't want this to be like a huge doom and gloom proclamation. Nobody's ever going to believe you, so why bother, right? No, because that's the lie that shame tells us. That's the goal of frustration, to make us throw up our hands and say, why bother? If there's something going on with you, your body, your child's body, do not shut up until someone listens. So this is my call to action, to not shut up and sit down until someone sits up and pays attention. And even then, keep shouting until it's solved. And to make it known that I am one of those people who will sit up and pay attention and do everything that I can to help you solve the problem. I might not be able to solve it, but if I can't, if it's not in my wheelhouse, I'm still going to believe you and keep guiding you to find the person who can, or to strategize how to get you where you need to go, even if the people who are supposed to be helping you aren't. I spend an astronomical amount of my time with my clients drafting emails, prepping them with information for meetings, gathering evidence and data and organizing it so that they have the backup that they need to force the people who can give them the help that they need to sit up and believe them. Not that long ago, I was on a coaching call with a client, and she said something totally in passing that I don't think most people would have caught. Mostly because she just said it so casually, but also because I don't think most professionals would grasp the significance of what she said. And I won't go into specifically what she said for privacy because it really has no bearing on the point that I'm trying to make. But I caught it. I heard it and I was like, whoa, stop. Go back. Tell me more about that. And it turned out to be the key to everything for her child. And when I first made her go back to it, she kind of brushed me off and was like, I've said this so many times and nobody has ever treated it with any weight. It's clearly not important, but it was. It was the most important piece of information because the people she'd consulted with before weren't believing her on the whole that the problem was even a problem. And she was presenting that information as a footnote. And because I believed her, I went into this call fully believing her. I was giving all the information that she was presenting me with equal weight. And then we were able to rework how she was presenting that information. She took it to her child's doctor, to his therapist, to his OT, to his PT. And she said that they still tried to dismiss her, but this time she didn't give up because she knew now how important this was. She stopped presenting this information as a footnote. And eventually, they sat up and they paid attention, and that started the ball rolling towards actually solving the problem that she'd been told wasn't a problem for years. But that's what not being believed will do to you. It'll make you minimize big issues. And as a professional, not believing someone, writing someone off as spinning a tale or being a worrywart or just generally going into listening to them with the mindset that they aren't fully trustworthy, that will make you minimize significant details. And just believing someone fully, just for that hour, could literally be the difference between life and death. It could have been for my son. It would have meant a decade of pain-free for my friend. It would have meant a child's lifetime without torment for my client. So all of this is to say, if you're the one who hasn't been believing people, please, for the love of God, pull your head out of your ass. You could literally save someone's life. If you are one of the ones who isn't being believed, I'm just letting you know that I'll believe you. If you've been stopping yourself from joining Parentability because you're scared that I won't or can't help you, give me the chance to determine that for myself. If I can't help you, not because I don't believe you, but because it's not in my wheelhouse, I will try my best to reach out to my network and find someone who can. I like to take a page out of Santa Claus's book from The Miracle of 34th Street and that kind of area. If I can't help you, I will find you someone who can. Just last week, I had a prospective client message me asking if Parentability could help her, and it very quickly, after having a short conversation with her, became apparent that it wasn't really that her child was having a behavioral issue that needed to solve. It was more of an issue within her marriage, and that's not in my wheelhouse. But I know someone who is awesome, so I referred her there, and now she's getting the support that she needs. But I truly, truly believe that there is far more damage to be done by not believing women than believing them. I mean, there's always going to be untrustworthy people in the world, but in my experience, they're pretty transparent. You can sniff them out while believing them, because by fully believing them in the moment, you're going to ask the right questions, and it's very difficult to keep a congruent narrative if you're not telling the truth. But you'll never know that if you refuse to ask the questions in the first place because you don't believe them. Trust is actually the best way to sniff out deceit. Hey, Lauren! Okay. I hope, if nothing else, whomever needed to hear that it helped. I certainly needed to get it off my chest. And if nobody needed to hear that, which I very much so doubt, then at the very least, I feel a bit better for having gotten it out there. Yeah. That's basically all I have to say. Just a quick note that we won't be having any new episodes over the next 2 weeks because, as I said, I'm going to be on vacation. So if there's nothing anybody wants to chat about right this minute, I mean, you can always DM me through the Uncommon Sense Parenting page. You can always shoot me an email if you need to chat. But just know that I'm here and I believe you. So yeah, I will see you in 2 weeks for another Uncommon Sense Parenting class. Have a great end to your February and beginning to your March. I'll see you soon. Bye.